thought I was losing my mind. It had been a week since the man at the parking lot, but the tension, the fear had only grown. I tried everything to ignore it. Work, sleep, the distractions of life, none of it helped. Every time I looked at my phone, at the security footage from the store, my mind would start to race. Was he there? Was he watching? Every flicker of static, every time the camera feed froze for a fraction of a second, felt like a reminder that he could appear at any moment. But it wasn't just that. I began to notice something more unsettling. The gaps. The missing time. It was like parts of my day were slipping through my fingers, moments I couldn't account for. I'd wake up at random points, unsure of how much time had passed. I'd find myself driving to places I didn't remember planning to go. At first, I brushed it off. Stress, lack of sleep. But as the days went by, it became undeniable. One afternoon, I found a slip of paper in my jacket pocket. I hadn't put it there. The note was simple, written in a hurried, jagged scrawl. You don't know when it started. I froze, staring at the paper for a long time. It was like a jolt to the chest. The handwriting was strange, unfamiliar, but I couldn't shake the sense that I had written it. The words felt too familiar, too exact, and yet I couldn't remember putting it in my pocket. I dug through my things. I checked the phone, hoping for some kind of clue. I had recordings, voice memos I didn't remember making, photos of places I didn't recall visiting. The most disturbing part? There were images from the store, the parking lot. The man standing there in exactly the same position, no blinking, no movement, and yet the timestamp on the footage, each frame showed days, even weeks, passing, and yet he hadn't moved, not even a fraction. The realization hit me hard. I wasn't just losing time, I was losing myself. And then it came to me in a burst of panic. I hadn't been dreaming about him, I had been visiting him. I sat there for hours, staring at the footage. My eyes burned, my brain screaming to stop, but I couldn't look away. The man. Standing, waiting. At 3:14 a.m., always at 3:14 a.m. I needed answers. I needed to find out where this started, when it started. I tried to get into the building's records, pulling up any information I could find about the parking lot cameras, about the store's history, anything that could give me a clue. That's when I stumbled upon it, a logbook hidden beneath some old paperwork. The store had been built decades ago, but before that, it had been something else. A warehouse, a distribution center. It was a place people used to disappear. My breath caught in my throat. There were reports, scattered notes from previous employees mentioning strange occurrences at 3:14 a.m. A brief line stuck out, the man who never blinked. But it was only a fragment. The rest of the entry was unreadable, the words scratched out as though someone had intentionally erased it. I dug deeper, but there was nothing more. No explanation, no understanding of who or what the man was or why he haunted that parking lot. My head spun, my thoughts spiraling. How had I not known any of this? How had I missed it? And then I realized I didn't want to know, but it was too late. The clock hit 3:14 a.m. again, and the air in the room grew thick with dread. I was being drawn into it, sucked deeper into the abyss. My phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up with a notification, a new recording. It was from the security footage. The man was inside again, closer this time. But something was different. He wasn't just staring into the camera. He was smiling. A twisted, impossibly wide grin spread across his face. And then I heard it, a whisper. It's your turn now. I slammed my phone down, heart pounding, but the words had already settled in my mind. And the man, he never blinked. Whisper echoed in my ears long after I had thrown my phone across the room. My heart was pounding, a frantic rhythm that matched the pulse of something darker, something deeper than fear. I had always assumed I was in control of my life, my actions. But now I wasn't so sure. I staggered to my feet, pacing, trying to shake the feeling of being watched. It was suffocating, like an invisible hand pressing against my chest, slowly tightening with every breath. The room felt colder, darker, an oppressive weight I couldn't explain. I went back to the footage, despite my better judgment, my fingers trembling as I navigated the security cameras. But this time, something was different. The timestamp was there, as always, marking the precise moment. But as I rewound the footage, something caught my eye. A flicker in the corner of the frame, like a shadow slipping between worlds. A distortion, just a ripple in the air. Then a figure appeared, a shape in the distance far down the parking lot, standing motionless. It was him. Only this time he wasn't alone. I squinted at the screen. Behind him, just barely visible, were other figures. Shapes that blended into the background, their outlines faint and blurry. They stood there in the shadows, watching, waiting. I froze. What were they? Who were they? The footage, in its strange and static-filled way, didn't give me answers. Only more questions. I had to go to the store. I had to see for myself. I drove to the grocery store late that night, my hands tight on the wheel. The roads were empty, the sky a blanket of clouds. My mind raced with possibilities, but no matter how many times I tried to convince myself it was all just some strange coincidence, I couldn't ignore the fear gnawing at my insides. When I pulled into the parking lot, I knew I wasn't alone. The air was heavy, oppressive. I didn't want to get out of the car, but my feet moved before I could stop them. The store loomed ahead, dark and silent, the fluorescent lights casting strange shadows across the pavement. I walked toward the building, my steps slow and uncertain, as if my body knew something my mind was still trying to deny. And then I saw him, at the far end of the parking lot. He was standing under a streetlight, perfectly still, his back to me, but even from this distance I could see it. His eyes were wide, unblinking. That strange, hollow stare that seemed to pierce through the dark, locking onto me as if he knew exactly where I was. I swallowed hard, every nerve in my body screaming to turn around, to get back in the car and leave. But I couldn't. I was rooted to the spot, frozen by his gaze. And then, as if he was waiting for me, he moved. It wasn't a normal movement, no. It was more like he skipped, like a glitch in time. One moment he was under the light, and the next he was closer, 5 feet, 10. And he was still walking toward me, each step a leap through reality itself. I couldn't take my eyes off him. I should run. I should leave. But I couldn't. At that moment, everything felt wrong. The world felt wrong. The air was thick, stifling, as though something was pulling at the fabric of reality itself. I heard the crackle of static, the faint hum of something just beyond my hearing. And then I saw them. The shadows, the shapes. They were no longer just faint outlines in the background. They were moving now, not walking, but sliding, as if they were part of the very air itself. Figures, tall and thin, their features indistinct, but their presence overwhelming. They moved toward the store in a strange, synchronized dance, their movements fluid, like something not quite human. A realization struck me like a punch to the gut. They were here for me. I had been so focused on the man, so fixated on his unblinking stare, that I hadn't noticed the others, the ones who followed him. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath shallow and ragged. The ground felt unsteady beneath my feet, and the air itself felt heavy, pressing against me. But it was too late. I stumbled, falling backward onto the pavement. The man was standing right in front of me now, his unblinking eyes mere inches from mine. His smile, a twisted, grotesque thing, spread wider. And then, in a voice that I could barely hear, he whispered again, "It's your turn now." I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I was trapped. And then everything went black. When I woke up, I wasn't where I expected to be. The ground beneath me was soft, almost too soft, like I was lying on something that shouldn't exist. The air smelled stale, a sickly sweetness that made me want to gag. My eyes fluttered open, the world spinning into focus, and I tried to push myself up, but something was holding me down. I looked around. I was no longer in the parking lot. I wasn't even near the store anymore. I was in a dark, cavernous space, an empty, endless void stretching out in all directions. There were no walls, no ceiling, just darkness. And then I realized something even worse. I wasn't alone. The man was standing in front of me, his unblinking eyes locked onto mine. But there was something different about him now. His body was no longer just a man, no longer human. He was larger. His form stretched impossibly high into the air, towering above me like a nightmare made flesh. His eyes were endless, two massive, black voids that seemed to devour everything around them. His face twisted into that grotesque smile, stretching farther and farther until it looked like it could swallow the entire world. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then, from the depths of the darkness, I heard something else. A whisper, a low, guttural hum that reverberated through my bones. "You've crossed the threshold," the voice murmured, distant yet all around me. "You're one of us now." I couldn't tell where the voice was coming from. It was everywhere, echoing from the corners of the void. It was like the space itself was speaking to me, surrounding me with words I couldn't understand, as if the very air was alive with some kind of ancient intelligence. I turned my head frantically, desperate to find some kind of exit, but the landscape didn't change. No door, no walls, just that vast, oppressive emptiness. I felt a shift in the air, like something was moving toward me. Something immense. A sound, almost like the creaking of an old door, filled the void. And then, from the blackness, something massive emerged. A giant eye. It was so large, it consumed everything. It stretched across the sky, or what I thought was the sky, blocking out any sense of space or dimension. Its iris was like a swirling abyss, a vortex of black and red, glowing faintly in the dark. It was an eye that had never blinked, never closed, a thing that had watched for eons, and it was staring at me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I was trapped under its gaze, like a bug pinned beneath a magnifying glass. I could feel it watching me, looking into my soul, seeing every thought, every fear. It was the eye of something old, older than anything I had ever known. It was the eye of something that existed beyond time, beyond space. I tried to close my eyes, but it didn't matter. Its gaze had already pierced me, seeped into my mind like oil into water. "You are not in control," the voice whispered again, and this time it was as if the words were in my head. "You were never in control." I screamed, my throat raw, but still, no sound came. I could only feel the force of it, the weight of the darkness, the pull of the infinite. The giant eye grew larger, its movements slow and deliberate, as though it was toying with me, savoring every moment of my fear. And then the man, the thing that had once been the man, moved closer. His face was right in front of mine, that sickening, impossible smile stretched even wider. "You are the next," he whispered, his voice now a cold, rasping thing. "The next in the line, the next to never blink." I could feel myself breaking, my thoughts shattering under the weight of it all. The man, the creature, took a step back, and the massive eye, the one that had been staring at me, slowly, agonizingly shifted. It opened wider, and then I saw it. The darkness inside it was endless. It wasn't just an eye, it was the universe. A space so vast and endless it made me feel insignificant, like a grain of sand in an ocean of nothingness. I was falling into it, sinking deeper with every passing moment. My thoughts, my body, everything about me felt like it was being swallowed whole. "You can never escape," the voice said. "This is your world now." I felt myself pulled, dragged deeper and deeper into the center of that eye, into the infinite, into nothing. But then, just as I was about to lose myself completely, I saw it. A flicker, a glitch. I was back in the parking lot. The man, no, the thing, was gone. The eye was gone. The darkness had lifted and the world around me was normal again, as if nothing had happened. But I wasn't the same. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was inside me now, watching me, waiting, that I was never really alone, that the man had followed me, just as the voice had promised. And worse, I knew I would never blink again.
The end.